Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good. And that's why we're honored to be talking about tnAchieves. We have with us Graham Thomas, Chief Community and Government Affairs Officer with tnAchieves. How are you doing?
Doing great, Jeremy. Thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. When you talk about college students and success and mentorship and the community pouring in, a lot to unpack, but let's start. Give us a little bit of history for tnAchieves.
Yeah, so we started an organization based in Knoxville, actually about 16 years ago. At that time, it was tnAchieves, really with three key components. We were a last dollar scholarship, eliminating the financial barrier to our local community and technical colleges. With mentor support and a community service component. And so we are now carried that forward. We're operating in 72 counties today. That first year in Knoxville, we had 491 students. This year, we had 67,000 high school applicants and about 30,000 college students. So a lot of growth over the last 16 years. You talk about community. One of the big headlines for us recently was that as of July 1st, our students have now completed 5 million hours of community service across the state. So while that is not the goal of the program, it is a number that we're certainly proud of and something that I think we should celebrate across the state and in the communities that we serve.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive into how it works, because when you talk about especially first generation college students, as you mentioned, knocking down those barriers. And so there's a lot when you talk about pouring into support, and there's a financial piece, there's a mentorship, there's a lot to this. So talk about how it works.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, Last Dollar Scholarship, which is now Tennessee Promise, is the statewide program that is essentially the financial aid. So any of our high school seniors can now attend one of our 13 community colleges, our 25 Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology, or TCATs, as well as about 25 four-year universities that do participate tuition-free. The four universities aren't quite tuition-free, but it does make a dent in the tuition there. The majority of our students do come from low-income backgrounds and are the first in their family to go to college. And so while we've made college tuition-free, what we learned through the first few years of Tennessee Promise was that unfortunately, our low-income students were still not going to college at rates as high as their peers, and when they went, they weren't graduating at rates as high as their peers. And so we have the volunteer mentoring program that is really focused on access. So volunteers working with a small group of about 3 to 5 students, knocking down those barriers to access, helping students with not completing the FAFSA, but getting them resources to work through that federal financial aid paperwork, making sure that they're applying to college, that they're registering for orientation, that they're doing all those things, right? All those steps are important, but even more importantly, they're just encouraging students that, hey, college is affordable now. It's within your grasp. You can go, and I'm going to stand in your corner. I'm going to be your cheerleader, and make sure that you can access this opportunity that Tennessee provides. We were the first state in the country to do it. We were actually just recognized at a national conference in Boston just 2 weeks ago. 37 states now have some version of a Promise program. Very few have what we have, where it's any and all. But 37 states have now followed Tennessee's lead. And so what really started as an access program for us very quickly has really transitioned to a success program. So like I mentioned, we learned that our low-income students were not having a lot of success when they landed on a college campus. What we've actually learned is that if you're a low-income student at one of our state's community colleges and you don't have any of these additional supports, your graduation rate is only 6%, which is just abysmal, right? And so then we learned that if we introduce Tennessee Promise, we can about triple that rate to about 19%. And so we've really, the last few years, taken a deep dive on this group of students, this lower income first generation student. And what we do now is for those students, they all get a coach. So a full-time staff member at tnAchieves that is reaching out and building relationships in the name of college success. And then we have an additional $1,000 per semester to help them pay for the things that Promise doesn't cover. So Tennessee Promise will cover all of your tuition, all of your fees. And now we can help you buy books, computers. We can put gas in your car, buy bus passes. We're buying a lot of groceries for students. We knew that there were certainly some food insecurities on our college campuses, but really surprised at how many grocery requests that we get. And that actually increases the student's graduation rate to about 38%. So about 6 times more likely to graduate once we put this additional non-financial support paired with the additional financial support for these students.
And that program is complete, correct? In terms
complete,
of,
yes.
Yeah. Which I think when you look at all the different things that, really the evolution of Tennessee Achieves, all the different support networks and programs, a very holistic approach, just like you're talking about, which ultimately creates success for the students and for our community. Talk about for the community in terms of being a mentor. You make it very, very easy. And we've had so many on our end as City Current partners and friends who have become mentors, and, text messages, words of encouragement, just being there. It's super easy. And I know it's a big push on your end for recruitment right now as well. So talk about the mentorship and how the community can get involved in that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. So the mentoring, our goal is, I was talking to someone earlier today that we want to find a way that the busiest person in every community can make an impact on local students. And so it is honestly, it's kind of mentoring light. We only need about 1 hour a month is what we ask. There is one in-person meeting at the high school of your choice. So if you live in an area where I went to Franklin High School, my parents went to Franklin High School, my grandparents went to Franklin High School. So my parents mentor at Franklin High School. So if you have that tie to a community, you can go and volunteer at that high school. If you're new to the area, I know in Nashville, they're saying 110 people or whatever are moving a day. You can just say, put me wherever there's a need, and we'll put you where there's a need. Same thing in any community across the state. You meet with your students for the first time in the high school with the other mentors. And then from there, it is a lot of text messaging, phone calls, emails. Typically, I think what our average mentor is doing is putting their 3 or 5 students on a group text, sending out reminders, checking in, seeing how you're doing. And then when you get that one that's like the panic, like rapid fire, you just got 8 text messages in 12 seconds, you call that one. We put all of our mentors through training. If you're like me, it is exactly 20 years ago that I went to college. And so if you're like me and it's been 2 decades since you've gone to college and you're worried about what has changed and what's different, we train everybody on how to go to college in 2025 now is what we're recruiting for. We give you a handbook, lays out all the steps, how to go to college in 2025. But I always tell people a lot of the things our students and our mentors are working on together, they're not going to be covered in training and they're not going to be found in the handbook because we can get them through the process. But it's all those other things. It's the life things. It's the things that they just don't know. We had a student in the first year in the program. His name was Dalton, low income, first generation student. Neither of his parents had actually graduated from high school. So he was our target student. We got him to his mentor. His mentor gave him some advice on his first day of college. And it was, make sure that you leave early. Traffic will be bad. The parking lot at the college will be full. Your first impression better not be walking in like 20 minutes late. And so his mentor got a long text message from Dalton that Monday morning. And he said, I did what you asked me to do. I got to campus early, but I've been walking around now for half an hour. And I cannot figure out which building is MWF. And so the mentor just thought for a second, well, MWF on your college schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? So we got you here on the right day. Let's find the building. He made it into his class that day. He graduated from Pellissippi State Community College with a 3.89 GPA, transferred to UT and earned a forestry degree. So, it's those things for our students. It's a student who was very sharp, very smart. He was also very shy. He probably wasn't going to walk up to a stranger on campus that day and ask what he thought was a dumb question. But he built a relationship with someone and he felt comfortable and it got him over his hurdle. And we've got those stories all over the state now. We just got a story from a TCAT student who first generation, her mom is sick. Her dad is barely, kind of keeping ends met at the house. And we're paying for all of her tools now so that she can go to the TCAT and earn a degree. And, she doesn't have to worry about those family things anymore. And so, what we see with our students is they can do it. They can get there. It's the life things. And so we're working on that. We need 5,000 people across the state. We're about halfway there. So we still got about 2,500 people to go by November.
When you look at the feedback then you get from the mentors, just like you mentioned, super easy, but yet meaningful and impactful. And also you're creating a relationship that you might not have otherwise created in your community. So talk about the feedback you get from the mentors.
Yeah, the mentors love this new model. So we have a new model as of last year where the students are actually raising their hand to say, hey, I need help with a mentor. So what it's allowing us to do is really get the students that need help, as opposed to we used to give every single student a mentor automatically. And so they're getting to build a closer relationship with a smaller group of students that really need the help. And the feedback has been wonderful. They're really enjoying it. The other thing I think that it does, we talk a lot about creating pathways to a meaningful career. It connects you with a person in your community. I mean, look, you may not be a nurse. Nursing is a very popular major for our students, which is great because we need a lot of nurses. But you probably know someone who is, right? And so you can go and help open that door for a student. They can job shadow, which counts for their community service requirement. And so it's about making those meaningful connections and helping a student, yes, right? But it's also about preparing the future workforce. If Nashville is going to continue to grow and Memphis is going to thrive and all of our major metropolitan areas in Tennessee are going to grow, we have to have a workforce first. The jobs don't come until there's a population of people ready to go to work. And so we get to do this wonderful work helping students achieve their dreams, but it really is about creating a pipeline, that future talent pipeline, so that our business community can grow and thrive.
You mentioned it at the onset, and then obviously you just kind of highlighted it again, but talk about that community service aspect and why that's an important tie-in for the students and obviously for the community at large.
Yeah, so when we created the program, it was privately funded, 100% privately funded. And then we were asking volunteers to serve in this mentoring role to make sure that students were successful. And so it was important to us that our students continue this tradition of giving back. They had this opportunity because people were writing checks and people were volunteering their time. Now it's a little different. The state is funding the program all through lottery funds, excess lottery funds. We're still asking for volunteers to give their time to make sure they're successful. But it's also this career exploration piece. We really want our students to go and give back, find what they're passionate about. If you're passionate about animal welfare, go and do that. It might lead to a career. If you're passionate about the medical field, go volunteer with the Red Cross or go volunteer in a clinic somewhere. A lot of our students want to be nurses and they come back from like that whole blood thing, like, oh, maybe nursing isn't for you, right? So let's talk about the other things, but it opens up those opportunities. I think for a lot of our first generation students, they think there's like 5 things you can do. You can be like a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, a lawyer. Maybe that's the people in their community they know with a degree do one of those things. They don't know that you can work for a nonprofit. You can host a radio show. They don't know all these different things that you can do with a college degree. And so it really opens up those doors and it gives our mentors then an opportunity to talk about those in-demand career fields.
So we've talked about obviously the mentorship side. That's an easy way for the community to get involved. Obviously spreading the word and raising more awareness. How else can the community help Tennessee Achieves?
Yeah, talking to families about their college opportunities, making sure students are taking advantage of the Tennessee Promise. We're 10 years into Tennessee Promise now. We're celebrating a decade this year. We're already thinking about the next decade. Both Nashville State and Southwest, we're hosting events in the coming weeks. Each of those institutions will this fall across 10,000 students enrolled. So let's take a moment to celebrate that. We're certainly proud of that, but let's make sure that students are continuing to take advantage of this opportunity. I think most Tennesseans now know someone that's used Tennessee Promise. We're that far into it, which is great. But yes, serving as a mentor would be great. Getting this to your community groups, to your churches, anywhere there's an active group of people. We've got a team that's ready and willing to come tell that story and continue to build upon this first 10 years and get ready for the next.
Well, that carries us into the last and easiest question of all is where do we go to get involved? So mention website, social media. Where do we get involved with Tennessee Achieves?
Yeah, great question. tnAchieves.org is the website. We have a brand new website that's about to go live, so you will be one of the first to visit it if you go and check that out here in the next few days. And then all of our socials are at tnAchieves. We've got them all. I don't have them all, but we've got Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We've got all those things. And then people can always reach out to me. I'm happy to share my number is 615-604-1306. And like I said, we've got a team that is always ready and willing to come in and share the story across the state, whether it's a community stakeholder group or a student group, anything we can do to be helpful.
Well, make sure everyone go to tnAchieves.org for Tennessee Achieves. Graham Thomas, Chief Community and Government Affairs Officer with Tennessee Achieves. Thank you for all you and your amazing team do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeremy, so much for having me.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.